Okay, I'm going to call the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting for September the 12th, 2017 to order. We're going to begin with an invocation. I'll ask Alderman Barnhill if he would offer that invocation, and as he gives that invocation tonight, I would ask that he particularly help us to think about the hurricane victims and the property damage done in Texas and Florida, and also the fact that we still have our swift water crew, which was deployed to Texas, has now been deployed to Florida, and that we keep them in our prayers, that they will be able to do their work and get home safely. So, and then I'll lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you bow, please? Heavenly Father, we do come to you in prayer tonight, thanking you for this opportunity that we have of meeting here in this assembly. We recognize the freedoms that we have in this country. We know that we are truly a blessed nation. We also ask your blessings upon the other parts of this country that have been hard hit by the hurricanes. We ask that you be with the families that have lost loved ones, with the families that have lost a lot of property damage. We also ask that you be with our rescue teams that are now in Florida. Help them, help the people that are there. We know that they're going through a tremendous tragedy. We also ask that you be with each of us as aldermen. The decisions we make, give us spiritual guidance in those decisions. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now's an opportunity for citizens to make comments on items that are not on the agenda. I have no speaker cards, so if anybody wanting to speak on items not on the agenda, so we'll move forward to communications from the Williamson County Commission. We were honored to have Mayor Anderson here tonight. I don't see any other county commissioners here tonight, so we'll go on to approval of the minutes from August 22nd, 2017, 5 p.m. work session, and the August 22nd, 7 p.m. Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting, and also the August 30th, 2017, 6 p.m. special work session. I'd entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion by Alderman Peterson.
Second.
Second by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Any additional thoughts or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. We've got a couple of proclamations now. Anyone here with the school? Nice proclamation. Oh, good. Come on up.
Tina.
Well represented tonight. Come on up, yeah. I'm reading this proclamation for you, going to give it to you in just a minute. Who are you?
I'm Willie Dickerson, principal of Franklin High School.
Oh, wow,
I'm Chris Hames, I'm principal at Centennial High School.
wow.
Chad Walker, principal of Hunters Bend Elementary School.
Dr. Kennedy, principal of Braxton Middle School.
We got the big dogs here tonight. All right.
Mayor, I want you to know both my sons got through 3 of those schools, and I never had to meet any of them.
And Mayor, they did not use their teacher voices because they could not be heard in the back of the room. And I assume
They're
they're
not in the
important
classroom.
people.
Well, we're honored that and we know how busy you are, and it's the start of the school year, and we're honored to be able to do this proclamation for you. So whereas the city of Franklin has a tradition of Southern hospitality and graciousness and values the culture of kindness that was born out of the Be Nice movement created by Fairview High students and staff and adopted by all Williamson County students and staff, and whereas the city of Franklin can serve to be an example of what cities can aspire to be through individuals simply being nice and doing good, and by giving where there is a need, and whereas the theme for Be Nice is Everyone Counts in 2017 and 18, and whereas our city and its citizens, businesses, and public servants continue their efforts of being kind and encouraging, have joined to promote a campaign of niceness that celebrates the strength and strengthens the spirit of the city of Franklin and that all those that live, work, and play here. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Ken Moore, Mayor of the City of Franklin, do join with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in proclaiming September 2017 as Be Nice Month. Thank you. Thanks for everything you do for us. And now it's time to do a proclamation for Constitution Week. So I'd ask our representative, Anna Schaefer. I wanted to call you Shoemaker, but Anna Schaefer from the, you want to introduce yourself and I'll quit botching it?
I'm Anna Schaefer, the regent of the Old Glory chapter of the DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution.
Good, good. And you're welcome to move around wherever you want for your photos. That doesn't bother us. We'll make one up here in a minute.
Good,
So,
thank you.
whereas our founding fathers, in order to secure the blessings of liberty for themselves and their posterity, ordained and established a Constitution for the United States of America, whereas of the greatest importance that all citizens understand the provisions and principles contained in the Constitution in order to effectively support, preserve, and defend it against all enemies, and whereas the independence guaranteed to American citizens, whether by birth or naturalization, should be celebrated by an appropriate ceremony and activities, now therefore I, Dr. Ken Moore, Mayor of Franklin, Tennessee, do hereby proclaim the week of September the 17th through September the 23rd, 2017 as Constitution Week. So.
We have, come on down. Ann?
Yeah.
I may just leave. Y'all let me know.
All right, here comes Margaret.
And I want to invite everyone to our big event this Sunday at Historic Presbyterian Church, 3 o'clock. And you will meet Benjamin Franklin at that time.
Oh.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next year, and I'll see you Sunday. Okay, are there any miscellaneous reports tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda, I'm sorry, I've skipped over the miscellaneous report, which I have written in the wrong spot. We do have one miscellaneous report. I'd ask Mr. Stuckey to give that now.
And I have two things I want to touch on. First, there is a meeting here in the boardroom tomorrow evening at 5:30, and it discusses the 96 West Multi-Use Trail Project, which will extend some trail that we put in a year or so ago, take it from Freedom Middle School all the way into downtown. So it'll help connect Freedom Middle, Freedom Intermediate, Johnson Elementary, Jim Warren Park, and then take you all the way into downtown as well. So we've gotten, as folks may have heard, a couple state grants to help with that project, and we want to have a public meeting tomorrow night at 5:30 here in the boardroom to describe that project in a little more detail for the public.
Mayor, if I may add one thing to that. That project will actually connect downtown to Carlisle. So it's a great project on its own, but it will connect to an existing sidewalk, and Shel Silverstein will have to write some new poems.
All right, thank you. I want to go over this, and I apologize, we went over this at the 5 o'clock meeting as well, but I think it's important that we provide this report to the folks meeting here today as well, just to cover this. As I shared with you at our earlier meeting, we recently discovered an error that occurred in our adoption of our water and sewer rates. We actually did that last summer and adopted 2 years of rates consistent with our 5-year plan. And the direction at that time, based on our rate study, was for annual increases of 3.5% in water and 5.5% in sewer. So the board gave that direction. We had a series of options available, and our water rates are comprised of 2 different components. There's a fixed rate that everybody pays every month, and then there's an additional on top of that that's based on your usage. Okay, so there's a usage base and a fixed rate component. And the board at that time directed that we place the entire increase on the volume piece, the usage-based piece of that rate. So that direction was very clearly given, unanimously approved by the board at first reading. We had an error in our process, and an inaccurate rate schedule was placed on the subsequent ordinance actions that happened at second and third reading. So that put us in a place where we had rates that didn't really reflect what you directed us to do, and we just recently discovered that. So your direction was clear, but we had a paperwork error that put rates that were not reflective of that direction in place. I won't go into great detail, but essentially it put $2 additional on the fixed rate component and actually lowered the variable rate. So it actually did the opposite of what you asked us to do. It was an accident. It actually wasn't even one of the options that was on the table. I can't explain how this version got in there, but it had a effect that way. For actually most of our ratepayers are probably paying a little less on the sewer side and about the same amount on the water side, but we want to fix it and address it immediately. Here's the elements for the water side. In it, the variable rate was again a little bit lower, about 15 cents per 1,000 gallons lower, and the fixed rate is $1 higher than it should have been. So depending on how much you use water, this may have benefited you, or it may have been a slightly higher bill, and we're going to fix that for everybody. Here's the example. Our typical user is a 7,000 gallons a month customer. And in this case, the 2017 rates were actually, if on the sewer side, a little bit less than 1% increase when it should have been 5.5%. And on water is about even, is about 4% increase when it should have been 3.5% increase. The net to the typical user is actually, they underpaid about $2 a month. On the big change that we're going to prevent from happening is there was a sizable increase in that schedule for 2018 that was not the board's intent. On the sewer side for typical user, that would be 19% increase. Again, you wanted 5.5, and we're going to fix that. So no one has paid that. It's prospective, but we're going to fix that ahead of time. The next couple slides just show different rate categories. The exact same thing happened in every ratepayer category, whether it's residential outside, commercial outside. An increase happened in the fixed cost, and a decrease happened in the variable cost. So basically, this is a fixable error. The board doesn't need to vote again because you really already told us what you wanted to do. The subsequent votes had no change, no discussion of altering that direction that was provided at first reading. We just simply put the wrong attachment onto that ordinance and apologize for that. We've essentially, because of the way billing works, there's been 6 months billed at the wrong rates. Many people, most people paid either less or weren't affected because of their volume, but lower volume users may have paid more than they should have. So that's going to range from no overpayment to up to $18 total overpayment in that 6-month period for residents inside the city. If you're outside the city, it's slightly higher, could go up to $21. And we are calculating ratepayer by ratepayer what that might have been. If we under-recovered, we had an underpayment, we're not going to worry about collecting that. We're going to fix it going forward and go from there. We will provide refunds by way of credit to anyone between now and the end of the year that may have overpaid because of the error in the rate structure. Again, we apologize for the mistake. We're working to fix it as quickly as we became aware of it, and should have the new rates in place this week. We'll sign that tonight, the mayor and I will, and put those in place, and the bill runs that happen in September will be at the appropriate rates, and we will begin the process of issuing the credits between now and the end of the year for anybody who may have overpaid during the first 6 billing cycles of this year. Thank you for your time on that. Again, apologize for any inconvenience to our customers and to the board and for the error that we made. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're ready for the consent agenda, and as I mentioned, those are items generally considered to be non-controversial and routine in nature, and tonight we're considering items 24 through 37. Is there a motion? Vice Mayor?
Yes, I move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item number 26 and item 35.
Second.
So you want those pulled and
Yes,
voted
sir.
on separately? Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 4. This is a public hearing, consideration of a resolution 2017-13 to be entitled, a resolution adopting a plan of services for the annexation of portions of the Bushnell and Bates properties by the city of Franklin. Josh?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the plan of service of how the city could extend services to a property located along Lewisburg Pike as part of the Bushnell and Bates annexation. Staff recommended approval, and Planning Commission did as well.
Thank you. And I have one speaker, Matt Doberfull, who wanted to speak on items 4 through 7. So we'll give you a couple of minutes, Matt.
I'll try and be nice and take less than a couple minutes, since it's September, right? Yeah, so Matt Doberfull, I come here as a representative for Goose Creek Estates, which is a neighborhood of 68 homes, kind of sandwiched just north of Stream Valley. I've been fortunate to be involved with the staff and a couple times coming in work sessions and board meetings here with the board over the last 5 years as different alternatives have been discussed for access roads to Stream Valley. And in our view as a neighborhood and through the discussions and looking at the different plans that have existed over time, we are in favor of all of these items, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So unless you want to hear me 4 times, I won't come up again. But we view this as meeting the original intent of having a second access that provides good access for emergency services, that it's on the far end of the existing Stream Valley access. And so our view is in favor of all 4 items, the plan of services, annexation, et cetera.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comments, I declare the public hearing closed. I will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 5, this is a public hearing. Consideration Resolution 2017-50 and Ordinance 2017-34 to be entitled a resolution and ordinance to annex portions of the Bushnell and Bates properties consisting of 9.75 acres property located south of Goose Creek Bypass, east of Lewisburg Pike, adjoining the city limits within the southern part of the Franklin urban growth boundary.
Should try typing it, Mayor. This resolution/ordinance is the actual document which is needed to annex the 9.75 acres along Lewisburg Pike. Staff recommended the item favorably. Planning Commission did as well, and the property is within the city's urban growth boundary and contiguous with the current city limits.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Would entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion. Seconded by Alderman Skinner. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman.
This helps fulfill the requirement of a safety access to a number of units that are already been built in Stream Valley that our fire and safety had pushed for many years ago. So I'm glad that this is about to happen so that we will have better access in case of an emergency.
Any other comments? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 6, this is a public hearing. Consideration ordinance 2017-35 be entitled an ordinance to zone 9.75 acres specific development residential SDR 2.05 district Goose Creek character area overlay and conventional standards for the property located south of Goose Creek bypass and east of Lewisburg Pike.
Thank you, Mayor. This property is located between 1495 and 1521 Lewisburg Pike. The SDR 2.05 zoning complies with Envision Franklin, which recommends a conservation subdivision, and the zoning is tied directly to the development plan, which is a separate resolution, item number 7. Planning Commission recommended approval of the zoning, and the item was recommended favorably by staff.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 7, this is a public hearing. Consideration resolution 2017-51 to be entitled a resolution approving a development plan for the Bushnell Farm PUD subdivision for the property located south of Goose Creek bypass east of Lewisburg Pike.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the development plan for the property that has been voted on 3 times in the previous 3 votes. Envision Franklin recommends a conservation subdivision design. The development plan complies with that through the use of big house and single-family residential. A minimum of 50% open space is being met on this site. A total of 20 units are proposed, 4 in a big house, 2 attached dwellings behind the big house, and the remainder being single-family residential. The item was recommended favorably by staff. Planning Commission did not recommend approval.
Is there anyone that wants to speak to this body? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second by Alderman Martin. Any discussion? Alderman
I
Peterson.
just want to say that whenever this first came, when it was first looked at, there were certain owners of the property surrounding, and it turned out that at the time that we voted on this, they were not still the owners for some of it. And so I think the reason that the recommendation failed was because partly was because the address that we had there for these pieces of property did not actually represent what it was at the time that we voted on it, really.
I don't understand words.
Okay, I know. Okay, it started
They had
off.
the wrong address.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know, it's been that kind of night.
Okay.
In fact, I think, Josh, you described it as being, the lot numbers and everything that were on there, or the addresses, and that address on one of them turned out not to be the correct address because it had been sold off. It had been divided.
There was an initial typographical error on the
Exactly,
staff report.
exactly.
It originally read, this property is located at 1495 and 1521 Lewisburg Pike. All of the documents have been corrected to
Exactly.
reflect the property is located between 1495 and 1521 Lewisburg Pike. The original survey showed a property owner to the south as the property owner who subsequently sold the property while the plan was being reviewed by the city. We double-checked the public notifications that went out, and it was addressed to the current property owner of the parcel directly to the south.
And I think that was part of the problem, because the Planning Commission did recommend the other 3 parts to this, but that one, at that time, was a little bit more of a problem.
Okay, any other comments?
So my comment is
I
that,
understand
It's been corrected.
it was.
Are we ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 8, this is a public hearing. Consideration resolution 2016-90 as amended to be entitled a resolution adopting a plan of services for the annexation of 3 properties adjacent to and including 4360 Long Lane by the City of Franklin.
Thank you, Mayor. This property is contiguous to the city limits along the north side of the property line. The property is surrounded by the Highlands at Ladd Park PUD subdivision and would be required to extend existing roadway and infrastructure networks across the property. This property is within the Goose Creek character area, and the applicant's desire to develop this property as single-family residential uses would be supported by Envision Franklin. Staff recommends favorably to BOMA.
Does anyone want to speak to this body? I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 9. This is a public hearing. Consideration Resolution 2017-48, Ordinance 2017-32 is amended to be entitled a resolution and ordinance to annex 3 properties adjacent to and including 4360 Long Lane consisting of 17.59 acres located south of Carruthers Parkway and north of Long Lane.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a document required to annex the 15.3 acres of property into the Franklin city limits. Envision Franklin states in the managed growth guiding principle that annexation within the UGB should be approached in a comprehensive manner that promotes contiguity and orderly growth, efficient delivery of municipal services, and proactive planning for future development. The property is surrounded on 3 sides by an existing city subdivision, Highlands at Ladd Park, and therefore the annexation is supported by Envision Franklin. A plan of service and zoning ordinance will accompany this. Staff recommends favorably to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. I do have a question.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second? Alderman Skinner. I recognize Alderman Barnhill.
Give the property description one more time. How many acres?
It was
17.59.
17.5.
That's correct.
Is that, okay.
Yeah. Is that, there was an issue, the reason that it's come back because there was an issue with getting all of those,
Right.
all of them right. So 15.3.
Any other questions or comments? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 10. This is a public hearing. Consideration of ordinance 2017-27 is amended to be entitled an ordinance to zone 17.59 acre specific development, SD 1.71 conventional development standard overlay, Goose Creek character area overlay for 3 properties adjacent to and including 4630 Long Lane, the Moss property PUD subdivision. Does anyone want to speak to this body? Go ahead, Brad.
The applicant is requesting a rezoning of the property to allow for the construction of 30 single-family homes directly adjacent to the existing Ladd Park subdivision. The lot sizes match that of the lots within the Ladd Park development. Envision Franklin supports a rezoning request. Staff recommends favorably to BOMA.
Is there any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 11, this is a public hearing. Consideration of resolution 2017-39 to be entitled a resolution approving a development plan for the Moss property PUD subdivision for the property located east of Carruthers Parkway and north of Long Lane at 4360 Long Lane.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant is proposing 30 single-family homes directly adjacent to the Highlands at Ladd Park subdivision. The proposed neighborhood will connect to the Ladd Park subdivision. The proposed neighborhood is within the single-family residential design concept, which states that new development should transition from existing development patterns in adjacent neighborhoods. While there is not a variation in lot sizes for new residential development, however, since the proposed subdivision includes only 30 lots that are consistent with the larger surrounding context of the Ladd Park subdivision, staff finds the proposed plan to be appropriate. Staff recommends favorably.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 12, this is a public hearing. Consideration ordinance 2017-36 to be entitled an ordinance to zone 1.46 acres in the historic preservation overlay for the property located south of Old Paytonsville Road and east of Hughes Lane, 244 Old Paytonsville Road.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is to rezone Berry Farms Town Center, Section 7, Lot 7110, into the Historic Preservation Overlay. This lot contains the physical remains of the homestead known as Rural Plains, including the 1830s era federal style building, as well as several original outbuildings. This fulfills one of the conditions that was approved with the Berry Farm subdivision concept plan back in 2004. Both the Franklin Historic Zoning Commission as well as the Planning Commission recommended favorably. Staff recommends favorably to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Alderman Skinner and seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? You ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 13, this is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2017-23 to be entitled, an ordinance to amend chapters 2 and 3 and 8 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Franklin, Tennessee to allow limited development in the floodway fringe overlay within certain central Franklin character area overlay districts.
Thank you, Mayor. This text amendment allows redevelopment of non-residential uses along the edges of the floodplain along East Main Street and First Avenue. It also includes provisions for a multi-use path along the Harpeth River, which would connect the Siouxbury Bridge eventually to Pinkerton to Franklin Road. It's supported by Envision Franklin, and staff has recommended approval as well as the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone want to make any comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. We'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Open for discussion. Alderman Peterson.
In this area, we have talked about several parts to this. If you read the, I guess the ordinance itself, it says preserving most of the 10-year floodplain. And normally, we're talking about preserving the 100-year floodplain. 10-year floodplain means that it can, has a probability of flooding 10% of the time or once in 10 years, which also means that in over a 10-year period, it probably has about over a 50% chance of flooding there. So I have a concern about that. Another thing is that in discussing this, they're talking about doing cutting and filling, but in an area that goes all the way to the elevation that is 630 feet. The actual flood elevation there is 638 feet. So we're talking about looking at developing, technically with what our studies say would be 8 feet below the floodplain. Admittedly, we can do things like piers or something like that, but I guess I made a comment about this before, but certainly now, considering what we have seen in Texas and in Florida, where we have seen places that were not in the 100-year floodplain be flooded to a great extent, I still have an even more sensitivity to allowing building within that area. And finally, if you look on the very last detail there, and I guess I'd like to have that brought up, if I could. The very last detail. Let's see, what does it say? I think it says maps, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. Okay. The very first one there says, under, over on the right, existing riparian buffer, potential pedestrian bridge. I believe this is the area where we have talked about that back whenever the Parks Master Plan was passed, that we did not want a bridge there. We did not want a connection over to Lancaster. And in fact, we had something recently where we were saying, please take that reference out. We had specifically stated that we did not want the connection over to Lancaster, and it is again in this map. I would move that we take out that particular reference.
Second.
Thank you.
Appropriate amendment and second. Discussion on the amendment.
Mayor,
Alderman McClendon.
I realize that these things must come to us from separate sources from time to time. But I would like to say, once and for all, please, staff, no path, no bridge, no walkway, nothing across Lancaster. We have voted and voted again and voted again. We don't, the policy direction from the board should be clear. No bridge and no path and no walkway across Lancaster. Please.
Any other questions or comments? Ready to vote on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. We're back now to the original motion as amended. Is
I'm
there any
still
other
not going to support
discussion?
it, but I thought that had to be out.
So any other, ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion
No.
passes 6-2. Item 14, this is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2017-24 to be entitled an ordinance to rezone .43 acres from residential R3 district to office residential district for the property located at the southeast corner of Columbia Avenue and Carolyn Avenue.
Thank you, Mayor. The Envision Franklin recommends an office residential design concept for this location. The office residential design concept primarily consists of established historic single-family residential structures with a traditional development plan, with a traditional development pattern. This design concept designates the transition area between more intensive commercial uses and the surrounding areas. Buildings, regardless of use, should maintain a single-family residential character. The applicant has submitted exhibits to address specific questions from the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. These exhibits or any of the improvements are not conditions of the rezoning. Staff recommend the item favorably, as did Planning Commission.
Any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Skinner. Alderman Blanton.
I just wanted to say for clarification, I know that this probably got a little bit far down a rabbit hole for you gentlemen out there, but I did talk to the neighbor today, Mr. Hazelwood, and he said that they have done everything they possibly can. There are fence posts in the ground. The fence isn't completed yet, but he sees every effort made by them to be honoring the fact of the close proximity, not only to his mother's house, but her window. So I wanted everybody to know that moving forward. I told him I would be voting for this, and he feels like it's all been taken care of, so.
Okay, good. Thank you for letting us know, because
Sure.
I drove by there and saw that they're
Yes.
paving, I mean, not paving, but doing something out there.
He did say, though, that when he got ready to sell his house, that he wanted to change the use to something I can't say out loud, so.
Alderman Martin.
But will it be brick?
I also went by the property and spoke with him about that, and also the house, the one lot between that property and the purple on our map, there's one house, and it's only logical that that would be rezoned at some point, and so I'd like for us to remember that that is a possibility
Got it.
for that one lot to be.
Alderman Martin, for clarification, the property that's directly to the south,
Yes.
facing Columbia.
Yes. I'm not sure anybody lives there, but at some point, it would fill out that one block.
Any other comments? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 15, this is a public hearing consideration resolution 2017-54 to be entitled resolution approving a PUD development plan for Williamson Medical Center for the property located north of Murfreesboro Road and west of Carruthers Parkway.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a development plan for an expansion of the hospital for a standalone medical office building. It's supported by Envision Franklin within the regional commerce and the special area consideration for what is commonly known as our medical corridor along Carruthers Parkway. Staff recommended the item favorably to BOMA. Planning Commission did as well.
Any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Appropriate motion,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Berger. Anybody want to make a comment, discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 16, this is a public hearing. Consideration of ordinance 2017-41, an ordinance to amend Title 23 of the City of Franklin Municipal Code to revise definitions, clarify requirements, and to correct grammatical and typographical errors. Is there any public comments on that? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Appropriate motion, second by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? Ready to vote?
I was just going to say, it appears that most of those red lines say that a certain person will have, can allow many things.
We trust you.
The city engineer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Any
this
other-
is part of our step forward in terms of being a qualified local program, which helps us streamline and do things on behalf of the state instead of having to go through local and state programs, that we've reached a level in terms of the quality of our program that we can do it in place of the state. So that's a big step forward. This helps us do that too.
Any other comments? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 17, this is a public hearing. Consideration of ordinance 2017-42, an ordinance to amend Appendix A, Chapter 23 of the Franklin Municipal Code relative to the state of Tennessee's notice of coverage permit fees for construction sites. Does anyone want to speak to this group? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 18, consideration of ordinance 2017-16 to be entitled an ordinance to rezone .6 acres from residential R2 district to office residential OR district for the property located north of Murfreesboro Road and south of London Lane, 199 North Royal Oaks Boulevard.
Thank you, Mayor. Envision Franklin places this parcel in an office residential design concept. This design concept designates the transition area between more intensive commercial uses and the surrounding residential areas. Buildings, regardless of use, should maintain a single-family residential character. A separate exhibit of properties under the OR zone in the city has been added to the project file. Staff recommend the item favorably to the board. Planning Commission recommended approval with a 6-1 vote. Any site improvements proposed by the applicant are not conditions of rezoning for this property.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Barnhill. Open for discussion. Alderman Martin.
I spoke with the applicants, and they did agree to put evergreens across the back. I visited this property. I also visited every property that emailed me. And we've all gotten a good many of those, but I wanted to see how they were affected. Many of them were at the far end of the street, I mean, way down. There was a gentleman right behind this property that I realized in the wintertime would be exposed. So I spoke with the applicants, and they assured me that they would put the evergreens there. Also, the one house now that is facing London Lane backs up to OR, and I assume that log house is OR too. OR is not commercial. You can't just put anything you want to there, and that's what a lot of people were saying in their complaints, that this just opens it up for whatever you want to do. That's not the case, not with office residential. 30 years ago, they asked for office residential and were refused because the road was a two-lane road. There was no traffic light there. It has been improved considerably, and so I will be supporting this.
Alderman Berger.
The two houses on the corner are part of the Royal Oaks residential area. Even though the insurance company is a block down from here, it will bring the additional vehicle ingress egress closer to London Lane. And yeah, so it would be, and then the other point was that this insurance company is located about a block down, but it still brings it closer to London Lane. And I represent the residents of Royal Oaks, and they have voiced their desires and their opinions to me to strongly vote negative to OR zoning on this.
Any other comments? Alderman Peterson.
I will not support it. Again, that lot was a part of the Royal Oaks residential, or is a part of the Royal Oaks residential subdivision, unlike the ones further north of there.
Other comments? Ready to vote?
I had a question. It's been said, I didn't independently research this, but it's been said this rezoning has been requested and denied 3 times. I don't know if is that accurate, and if so, when was the last time, and what's different now? What, if anything, is different now? If
The
anyone
road
knows.
has changed.
Alderman Martin.
Royal Oaks has been improved, and a traffic signal has been put on Royal Oaks. It is not right at London Lane, but it allows the traffic to move in and out. I've traveled that road a lot, and I remember when it was not feasible to change the zoning for this or anything else. But it has been improved. That's the reason for my change in thought.
But the light is not on
No.
London Lane.
It isn't,
as you
but-
said.
Yeah,
It's
so
on, I mean,
but
as you stated, it is not on.
It is not on
It's on
London
Lakeview,
Lane.
exactly.
It's on Lakeview. Yeah, it's not
But
on
it still helps wherever there's a traffic signal.
Vice Mayor.
Well, this is our second OR request tonight. We just approved one at the corner of Carolina and Columbia, and we know how busy that road is. So, and I think these are very low-key type of businesses. So that's one reason I'm looking forward to supporting this. So we can approve one, but not the other, both on busy roads. So I know we have our individual thoughts about that, but I think both of these are low-key businesses that will not create chaos or additional chaos in those areas. So I will be supporting it.
Any other comments? Ready to vote? This will be a hand vote. All in favor, say aye, raise your hand. I see 5 for, all against, and I see 3 against. Motion passes. Next is item 19, consideration resolution 2017-43, a resolution to select the corridor design concept for the Columbia Avenue widening and improvements project. In your packet, you should have a resolution, and the motion, if you decide to make one, would need to include which option that you're selecting and requesting. Do you want to clarify that, Paul, as far as Mr. Holzen?
So option 1 is the 5-lane concept with access management, and option 2 is the roundabout concept, also with access management. So we're just looking for your direction on how to proceed, and again, we'll come back to you for the pedestrian improvements and the utilities associated with the project.
And as far as future public hearings?
As far as future public hearings, we'll probably do some form of public outreach on the pedestrian improvements to all the business owners and residents, and then ultimately try to collect that information and bring it back to the board to make a decision. Depending on how much feedback will depend if we have an actual formal public meeting. And then the utilities will probably do ourselves, and then after that, we'll have most of the decision made, and there probably won't be a whole lot of chance for public input until we actually get into the actual design of the project, where we have full-blown survey and
Gotcha.
detailed
Okay,
design.
is there a motion?
I'll
Mr.
make a
Mayor, I
motion.
approve,
Okay.
move. Okay.
I'll make the motion of the 5-lane concept with the access control, and I've talked to affected, go ahead.
Appropriate motion and second.
Uh, 5-lane with access control.
Yeah, 1 or 2. Should be at the top.
Option 1 is the 5-lane.
Option 1, okay.
Alderman, the vice mayor's picked option 1, which is a fine line,
Yeah.
5-lane. And there was a second by Alderman Barnhill. So, open for discussion. Alderman Skinner.
Mr. Mayor, we've studied this and had open houses, and I don't think there's been another issue that we've had more information in recent times for us to consider. There are some things I think we need to remember before we vote tonight. One, the 5-lane with limited access will still impose more taking of right-of-way and property and parking, existing parking from businesses than the roundabouts will. Number 2, the safety that's a factor on Columbia Avenue now. We're told by engineering that it's has almost twice the number of accidents that the regular average road in Tennessee does. And we've been told that from the statistics, because of the raised median, that it eliminates left turn collisions and will make this road safer for the future. The third thing is that the 5-lane choice is wider by a full lane other than at the intersections for the right-of-way. So we will save space so that we can have room for a sidewalk or a multi-trail that won't encroach as much into the right-of-way and business owners' property. So for those 3 reasons, I think we need to consider that the long-term, I've thought of one more. They describe levels of service. This is very important because as more of this vacant land develops on both the east and west side of Columbia, there will be more need for cross-traffic at the intersections. Engineering has provided us with numbers that shows the level of service at the year 2041 is far below what we would have. It's many cases a level of service F or E, but there are no levels of service connected to the right-of-way less than a level C. I think this is important because this will serve us longer with the growth in traffic in that area.
Any other comments? Alderman Blanton.
Me? Okay. I am not going to support the roundabouts. I've pretty much said that all along. We have had a tremendous amount of public outcry. I know specifically, I feel like every day I'm dealing with somebody wanting me to understand their stance. And we do a really good job as a board of listening to our citizens and property owners. And in this case, that group of people that's speaking loudest, it's the business owners down that corridor. And, you know, what has been the most predominant stance is let's don't do anything and wait for Mac Hatcher to be built. And while in some ways I wish that's something we could do, I don't think that's something that I feel comfortable with, knowing that this money is there for us to use for this. I will support the 5-lane. In some ways, I also think that if we could remove some of the access points, I've had some business owners that say that that still is going to hurt them in a very detrimental way. So I would vote for the 5-lane to move it forward, but I still think that we have some really important things to consider as we move forward.
Alderman Martin.
I struggle with this a lot. I think the roundabouts probably would be the best answer, but because the business owners have been so outspoken about it, I would tend not to vote for the roundabouts, but I certainly would want the access for the left turn lanes. Every morning or every day when I go Murfreesboro Road, I say, oh, Lord, help me get across these lanes without killing somebody. Because there are 5 lanes there, there's not a bit of not a bit of access control, and most of the time you just have to turn and go to the hospital and turn around. So it's so dangerous to go across those lanes of traffic. If you go down Carruthers in front of the Marriott, those medians are right there, and you just turn left. There's no problem. I would support the 5 lanes with the medians. I don't like the 5 lanes, but that's what I would support for the business owners on Columbia.
Vice Mayor?
I just want to make a comment about roundabouts, because I think there's an opportunity for us to use roundabout in newer areas, because I'm not anti-roundabout, but I think we have a great opportunity to see them in our newer development areas. These business owners were the backbone of Franklin before Franklin was cool. You know what I'm talking about? These folks was here running their little businesses and taking care of the citizens of Franklin. And they are very, very nervous of being ran out of business because of this. So I have talked to them, I have listened to them, and they are, rather than doing nothing, would probably be their first choice, but rather than doing nothing, they would, the 5 lanes is where I'm hearing a lot of support for. But let's not take away roundabouts in our city or in our new development areas, because I think there's great opportunities for that.
Alderman Berger.
I've said that if we do the 5 lanes, we need to have a dual purpose for them. I think we shut them down at least an hour every day and open up a regional airport, because we're building a landing strip. It's basically what we're going to do. We're going to build a landing strip, and we're going to sprinkle it down there to appease people with some medians. I look at 96 every single day over here by the interstate, and I go, I will never vote for something like that again in our city, because that is the worst thing you can put out there for businesses, and to for us today to not think long-term how Columbia Avenue will function in 20 and 30 years from now. It will not be what it is today. Businesses will come, businesses will go, things will change, development will happen, residential's areas over there will change drastically. People will knock houses down, build new houses, people extend their houses. We have more housing out in that area, and we have no way for people to get into town. We will not have that. When I look at I spent a lot of time with engineering on this and asked for their expert opinion over and over, research this, and I look at the existing right-of-way, Mike's right, existing right-of-way and parking will all change drastically. The safety issue to me is huge, huge. I think our responsibility as elected officials is to put safety number 1. And also, we certainly need to put our businesses and the people that own those businesses there, we have to take heart and take a very hard look at what's going to happen at that area. And we're gonna have to work as a city. I don't care if it's 5 lanes, I don't care if it's roundabouts with 4 lanes. We're still gonna have to work with those businesses to help them get in and out of their businesses. And they're going to want to keep their access right where it is, and you put that 5 lane in, you're gonna have to change a lot of that. A lot of that's gonna be changed. But we're gonna have to do the job of helping these businesses no matter what we build over there. And we better be ready to do that because we need to step up to the plate. And I'm, for one, it's not my district at all that I don't represent, but I represent, even though I'm Ward 1, I vote on all these things throughout the city, and I take it very seriously, and I go and visit these places and look at them. I meet with the business owners, and I talk to people. And I can't help but think that we're not looking forward. We're looking here right now, and we need to be looking there. And we're not doing that. We're not doing a good enough job of that. I think from what I've heard from engineering, we'll end up taking more property with 5 lanes. The level of cross-traffic, that's going to be a problem. Margaret, you mentioned safety. Well, safety is going to be so much more improved with a roundabout and 4 lanes versus the 5 lanes. We're still going to have issues. And that, to me, is just paramount to everything else that we're talking about here. Now, I had the opportunity many times to drive roundabouts in many areas. DC, for one, when I used to live there, Europe, and I spent 2 weeks this May in Ireland and Scotland. And you want to talk roundabouts? They've got roundabouts. And they have roundabouts in old areas, not new development areas. And I made my husband, we ended up going in the back roads and around the small cities and the small counties. And I made him turn around when he was driving one day. I said, we went through 2 roundabouts and I could see 2 more ahead. And I went, stop, go back. And he goes, why? And I said, I need to see this. And so we drove down 5 roundabouts. I believe it was 5, maybe it was 6. I can't remember right now, but it was at least 5, within almost a mile, not quite a mile. And it was an extremely busy area. And later I found out that the county was about the same size county that we have. Not quite as large, but the cities around were about 60,000. Truck traffic galore, everywhere I looked. 2-lane roundabouts with the brick apron, big trucks, semis going around there, and people were just going like this. Now, I think it's an insult to Americans if say, well, we don't do well in roundabouts. We don't know how to navigate roundabouts. If our people don't know how to drive them, well, learn, because they do work. They do work well, and they do move traffic, and they do provide a lot of safety. And I believe just the experience I had in May told me everything I knew about them was correct. And as I navigated them and went through them, I'm thinking to myself, we really need to look at the future here. I will definitely support the roundabouts.
Okay, any other comments? You ready to vote? Alderman Peterson.
I'll be voting for the 5 lanes. I am concerned about the access management control. I think that's going to be very difficult for the people who already are there and the traffic that is there. I drove out again today, went down I guess Alpha Drive or something, and they had all these ready-mix trucks at the end of it and everything, but that's not including all the just regular tractor trailers that come through there. I think the access management part of it is going to be extremely difficult to do to accommodate, yes. But I do not think that's going to accommodate. In some of these places, I don't even see on the maps how, whenever you're talking about an alternative road, I don't even know whether we've been told that they have right-of-way, right-of-way access to get through some of these things. But the other thing that I want to say is, this is just the beginning. Whenever you're talking about utilities, you're talking about sidewalk and multi-use trail and everything. I think that we need to be realistic out there instead of doing something that just sounds good. So, but as I probably would be for the do nothing, I suppose, you know.
Any other comments? You ready to vote? This will be a hand vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And raise your hand.
Tell me what the vote is.
No, you said no.
It's getting late.
I don't know what it is.
All those in favor, raise your hand.
Wait a
Favor
minute.
of what?
I don't know what the
Aye.
vote is.
The motion is,
To do a 5-lane limited access was a motion and second.
that's option,
Limited access.
Limited access.
Or controlled access.
management.
Access management.
Yeah.
Yeah, limited access sounds bad.
is everybody clear on what we're voting on?
It
Is
is
option
bad.
one?
It is.
Okay,
It
show
is.
of hands, all in favor. I see 5, opposed. I see 3, motion passes 5-3.
It is bad, realize what you did.
Item 20, consideration of a corridor management agreement for State Route 6, US 31. Is there a motion?
Oh, move for approval.
Appropriate motion by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Any discussion?
Brains hadn't got me.
Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 21. This is consideration of an interlocal agreement between the City of Franklin and the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation for financial assistance with the total maximum daily load, City of Franklin contract 2017-0219. If you make a motion, I would ask that you add in language that allows the city administrator and the city attorney to make minor changes in the document for compliance as they see fit.
So moved.
Second, but with the with the amendment that you made that allows the city attorney and the city administrator to make minor changes to the document.
Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Barnhill. So any discussion? You ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 22, consideration of amendment number 2 to the professional services agreement for the Curd Branch and Watson Branch Interceptor Sewer Improvements Project with Smith Seckman Reed in the amount of $57,400. Is there a motion? Alderman Martin's recusing herself, I see. Is there a motion?
So move.
Appropriate motion, second by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 23, consider for professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract 2017-0175 with Heathcote and Davis for the Henpeck Lane Sanitary Sewer Extension Project in an amount not to exceed $172,297. Alderman Martin has recused herself. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Skinner, seconded by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? You ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, we're going to item number 26, consideration of ordinance 2017-004, an ordinance establishing standards for small wireless facilities in the public right-of-ways. Is there a motion? I
Move
recognize the Vice Mayor.
I have 2 amendments to this motion, Mr. Mayor. I guess we can take them together or a separate together. What do you think?
Can you
Okay.
just make a global motion?
Okay.
Amendments,
All right. 2 motions?
A motion with these 2 amendments.
A motion with these 2 amendments. The first amendment is to amend chapter 14, section 4 by relettering section 4C through 4L to 4D through 4M. and inserting a new section 4C to read as follows. The city administrator shall have the authority to execute the right-of-way use agreement. That's motion, Amendment 1. The second amendment is to Section 6C1 by deleting this section in its entirety and replacing it to read as follows. Any associated equipment that is required for a small wireless facility shall be mounted at least 8 feet above grade on the pole and located in a shelter or case that does not extend more than 12 inches past the edge of the pole it is mounted on. The case of co-location, the mount shall be on the same side of the pole. City staff has the discretion for authorizing ground-mounted equipment when unique or exceptional circumstances exist to protect the character of the surrounding areas. That's my amendment.
Very good. Second.
I missed that first part. Could you
About the L
If I
and
could,
C.
if we'll make sure that Linda gets a copy
Well,
of that,
yeah,
'cause-
I got it.
Good.
You did really well.
Okay,
for us.
appropriate motion
I
and
second
appropriate
it.
second. Alderman Berger seconded it, she said, so any discussion? Ready to vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes unanimously. Item number 35, consideration ordinance 2017-28 to be entitled an ordinance to rezone 18.71 acres from detached residential R1 district to detached residential R2 district for the property located north of Boyd Mill Avenue and south of Highway 96, 3206 Boyd Mill Avenue. Establish a public hearing for October the 10th, 2017.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to deny the rezoning with an explanation if I get a second off of that.
Second.
Who's that, Alderman Peterson seconded?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With all the explanation we had, which was non-explanation of what was going on, we don't know how many units gonna be built, we don't know whether we got sewer capacity, we don't know whether there's any road improvements being made. There's nothing about that other than the request to rezone. Now, I understand from staff that that can come forward, the request can be without the other additional information. But when they start saying to me, if I understood it correctly, there is a possibility that there is a capacity issue in a low-pressure shoreline design for Franklin Green, then I have some concerns. And I think those questions need to be asked before we rezone 17, 18, 19 acres, whatever it is. And those questions and those comments were not answered at our work session a few minutes ago.
Appropriate motion, there's a second, and discussion, Alderman McClendon.
I agree. I think we should know a lot more about, I mean, if there's a project far enough along in its concept at the applicant's mind that they know what rezoning they want, I think there should be a lot more information available to us, even at first reading.
Alderman Martin.
If this rezoning would permit them to have one more house than is permitted, I would be against it. That road cannot take one more car on it than what is permitted. It can't take what's permitted, much less adding more to it. So I would be against it anyway.
Any other comments? You ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes with denial of the rezoning. So, are there any other matters to be considered by the board tonight? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second of Alderman Barnhill. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.